The parable of the shrewd manager raises complex questions about morality. This parable is found in Luke 16. The story features a manager who acts dishonestly. Understanding the parable's deeper meaning requires careful examination. The parable is one of Jesus' most perplexing stories. A wealthy man summons his manager to discuss the management of his assets. The master demands a detailed account of how the manager has handled his possessions. Accusations of mismanagement and wastefulness are implied during the conversation. As a result of the perceived mismanagement, the manager is informed of his termination. A manager faces an internal struggle after being terminated from his job. He assesses his limited options for future employment. He acknowledges his lack of physical strength, ruling out manual labor. The manager feels ashamed at the prospect of begging for assistance. This combination of factors leads to a sense of entrapment. The manager perceives his situation as seemingly hopeless and without immediate solutions. The manager devises a plan to secure his future. He aims to reduce the debts of his master's debtors. This will make the debtors grateful and welcoming. The manager anticipates needing their hospitality after losing his job. A manager initiates a debt reduction process for debtors. Debtors are called in individually to discuss their outstanding balances. The manager implements debt relief measures, such as reducing the amount owed. For example, a debt of 900 gallons of olive oil is reduced to 450 gallons. Similarly, a debt of 1,000 bushels of wheat is lowered to 800 bushels. The parable highlights the master commending the dishonest manager. This commendation is the most controversial aspect of the parable. The master is not praising the manager's dishonesty itself. Instead, the master is acknowledging the manager's shrewdness. The master values the manager's foresight and decisive action. Worldly people often demonstrate shrewdness in securing their earthly futures. Believers sometimes lack the same urgency in securing their eternal futures. Jesus contrasts the strategic planning of people of the world with that of people of the light. The people of the world are often more strategic in their planning. This comparison highlights a disparity in foresight between earthly and eternal matters. Jesus instructed followers to use worldly wealth to gain friends. Worldly wealth encompasses money, possessions, and resources. The goal is to ensure that when earthly wealth is depleted, these friends will welcome them into eternal dwellings. This teaching emphasizes the importance of using resources for eternal benefit. It suggests investing in relationships that extend beyond material wealth. Utilize worldly wealth to further kingdom purposes and values. Demonstrate generosity towards the poor and those in need. Support gospel ministries through financial contributions. Invest in building meaningful relationships with others. Engage in acts of compassion to alleviate suffering. Align financial resources with spiritual and ethical principles. Faithfulness in small matters reflects potential faithfulness in larger responsibilities. Dishonesty in minor situations indicates a likelihood of dishonesty in significant ones. Earthly possessions serve as a test of preparedness for greater spiritual duties. Managing material wealth responsibly demonstrates readiness for increased spiritual stewardship. True riches are defined not by material wealth, but by spiritual authority. Heavenly responsibility is a core component of true riches. A deeper relationship with God constitutes true riches. Financial management on earth demonstrates readiness for heavenly treasures. Earthly stewardship is a proving ground for celestial responsibilities. Faithful handling of earthly resources reflects spiritual maturity. It is impossible to serve both God and money simultaneously. Devotion to one will inevitably lead to neglect or disdain for the other. The core conflict lies between spiritual commitment and the allure of wealth. Choosing between God and money defines one's priorities and values. Money falsely promises security, power, and freedom. Money often becomes a demanding master, failing to fulfill its initial promises. True security is not found in wealth, but in faith. Lasting purpose is not achieved through material gain. Eternal life is not attainable through worldly possessions. The parable serves as a call to action for viewers. Viewers are urged to be strategic about their eternal future. They should exhibit the same urgency as worldly people do for earthly matters. The parable highlights the importance of prioritizing one's eternal future with the same zeal as worldly affairs. Challenge yourself to view possessions differently. Consider possessions as tools provided by God. Use these tools for God's glory. Employ possessions to fulfill eternal purposes. The parable encourages using temporary resources for eternal purposes. It prompts examination of what truly governs one's heart. Consider who or what influences your decisions. Reflect on what controls your financial resources. The parable challenges perspectives on money and possessions. It encourages viewers to reassess their values.